this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 14 of the So Free Art podcast, which is a little podcast about art and things. And this one's going to be another one about the things, but it is art related because I'm actually going to be sketching while I'm recording the podcast. So I don't know what that's going to sound like, but I'm sat up Saltrum. So it's a really nice sunny day today. I'm sat up Saltrum with my tree friend, and I always get advice from this tree friend. I just sit with it and talk, and I call it because I don't think it is a male or a female. So I like to call the tree it, which might be a bit disrespectful, but so I thought I would talk about, I don't know what I'm going to talk about really, but I'm struggling with something, or have been for the last week, or actually the last couple of weeks, and I think I've decided what I'm going to do. In fact, I have. So what it is I've got all these ideas for drawing, and I've got so many ideas for the website and stuff, but I really want to focus on lucid dreaming. And the thing with lucid dreaming is it requires a lot of energy, and it requires a lot of time, because you're not just writing, you're waking up during the night to write your dreams down, but you're also having to sleep. Me personally, I found that I tend to have better lucid dreams about 8 to 10 hours of sleeping, so it means I have to sleep longer as well. So everything takes away time that I could be putting into drawing. So I was at a point where I had to make a decision, but then this is another thing, do I have to or not? But I felt like I had to make a decision. Am I going to focus on lucid dreaming, or am I going to just abandon the lucid dreaming and go after the art, like the drawing? But I think I can do both, but I want to focus on the lucid dreaming. So what that means is I'm going to start start writing about lucid dreaming on the website, and that's going to be in the transitioning section. And also my priority is going to be on the lucid dreaming, which means I might go days without doing much drawing, but I've kind of accepted that now, and I was fighting it for a bit because I felt like I was doing something bad by not wanting to focus on drawing. But the more I sat with that, the more I wasn't doing anything, because I kept thinking about drawing instead of doing anything. So now I've made a decision, and the funny thing is I've made a decision to focus on lucid dreaming, and I've actually been doing more drawing than I have for a while, so that's a bit weird, but that's what happens sometimes. When you stop thinking about stuff, you start doing stuff. So I've also got my Surface Pro, and I'm going to do some, because I'm sat at Saltrum, which is the local woods. It's a really nice sunny day, and at the moment I'm doing pencil drawings of little Sophie in my little sketchbook, but in a moment I'm going to get the Surface Pro and do some digital sketching. But what I wanted to talk about on the podcast as well was trees. I know it might sound mad, but I have a tree friend at Saltrum, and I'm actually sat with my tree friend now, and in 2015, when I was still hiding away from people, I was still presenting as male, I used to come up here a lot and take photos. I haven't taken many photos recently, but I used to take loads of photos, and I realised after a while, or at least it felt like, this tree was somehow watching me or something. It felt quite weird, and I just ended up making a connection with this tree, and ever since I've been coming up here, sitting with this tree. Like even if it's been raining or something, I'll just sit with this tree, and it's amazing how if I'm ever struggling with something, like I'm struggling trying to make a decision on something, if I come and sit with this tree, I normally my legs just run out, which is mad. So if I'm ever struggling with something, if I just ask the tree for advice, it seems to always have the right answer. So I was thinking, like, everyone should get themselves a little tree friend. But my tree friend is it's not like the other trees, because I hope it doesn't take offence, but it's not like a super pretty tree. It's a massive tree, and it's pretty to me, but like half of the tree is covered in grass, and it looks really nice, and especially in the sun, it looks quite like epic, I suppose. But the other side of it is all almost like falling apart, and like some people might look at that and think, some people might just think it doesn't look very nice, but I've been studying it, and if you look at it really closely, all those little cracks and stuff, there's little animals in there, like little insects and spider webs and all these things, and you start thinking, like, those little cracks are somebody's home, which I think is kind of cool. So that's, in a weird way, the tree has two sides to it, which is, one side is just like a beautiful looking tree covered in grass, and then the other side is like a little home for all these animals and stuff. So I just thought that was quite cool. And then over to my right is this massive, it's behind like barbed wire fencing, so you can't get in there, but it's this amazing tree. I might have to take a photo of it. It's just amazing, and it's completely on its own, so it really stands out, and I will take a photo of that actually and put it on the podcast, put it in the show notes. But like that tree, most people would consider that tree like a really pretty tree, but I don't know whether a lot of people would think the same about my tree, but I think it's the best tree here. I'm just sketching little Sophie. What I'm going to do in a moment is make the album art for the podcast on my Surface Pro, and it's kind of exciting to be able to do digital art outside. It feels quite cool actually. So what I'm hoping, because I'm starting to feel like the whole point of life is trying to find a balance. And that's what I've struggled with my whole life, is finding balance. And I think at the moment I've got to try and find a balance between doing drawing and doing my lucid dreaming and stuff. So with the lucid dreaming, I've been having a lot of tiny little lucid dreams lately, which will last for like about a minute, and then I'll wake up. But it's one of those things I can really feel how powerful it is going to be. It's just really hard to stay lucid, and I feel like right at the very start when I didn't know what I was doing, it was a lot easier to stay lucid because I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. I was just sort of doing it. But as I've researched it more and started finding out what you've got to do to stay lucid and stuff, it's actually become a lot harder, which is a bit ironic. I'm hoping I can sort it all out. And all I really want to do is get to the bottom of why I have some limiting beliefs. I want to find out where they come from, because actually some of these limiting beliefs are stopping me from doing drawings. I've got some things I want to do with my drawing, but there's limiting beliefs stopping me. So this is why I think it's probably wise to do the lucid dreaming first, because if I can focus on my lucid dreaming. Hey doggy, hello. If I can focus on my lucid dreaming, get to the bottom of these limiting beliefs, then I can go back to the drawing, and I can then start focusing on the drawing more, because I won't have the limiting beliefs anymore. And the limiting beliefs are things like see, I don't really want to talk about them. It makes me feel okay. I got these ideas for doing things like courses, little books. I want to sell little books of little Sophie and stuff. But there's something inside of me that says you're not worthy of doing stuff like that, and it's going to hold me back unless I can work out. And I've meditated on this for so long, like for years now. I've been meditating on trying to work out where these limiting beliefs come from. And the thing is, I think the lucid dreaming is starting to show me where it's all coming from. So like I say, I think I'm going to just focus on that for the moment. So, but I can see that's one thing I want to do with lucid dreaming. And then the other thing is I want to bring little Sophie to life inside of the dreams, so that I can do some drawings with her. And I'm really excited to do that. I've run out of leads, so I can't do any drawing now. I'm so happy. I'm so happy it's sunny again. I'm so happy the sun's come back out, because it's been so cold lately, and it's going to be nice to get back outside again. And I think that's it for this week's podcast. It's another one of those weird ones where I was just talking about nothing really. I guess that happens sometimes. I mean, this was supposed to be a podcast about art, and I guess it is about art because it's part of the journey of being an artist, I guess, is struggling with self-doubt and limiting beliefs. And I think my way of working it out will be lucid dreaming. So it might be in, say, 50 episodes time, maybe I'll be able to look back at this episode and it wouldn't have been a waste of time, because it would put the future into context, sort of thing, where you could look back and say, okay, back then I was struggling with wanting to go on to lucid dreaming, but in the future, because it would have worked out, you'll be able to look back and say, I'm so glad I did do that. Because you just don't know. So I think that's it for this week's podcast. You can find the show notes. I don't think there'll be much on the show notes this week, but you can find show notes at sofreeart.com. And I wrote up that last week's podcast I did a little story, and I've got a title for it now, and it's called The Little Big Man. And I've actually wrote that up, and so I'll be uploading that to the website this week, which will be going in the transitioning section. And I've got a load of lucid dreaming things I've wrote up, which I need to edit and put on the website. And you can find all of that at sophielawson.com. But I'm going to end this week's podcast with a poem, and it's a poem called Advice from a Tree by Ilan Shamir, and I'll put a link to the poem in the website. I'll put a link to the poem in the show notes, but the poem goes like this. Dear friend, stand tall and proud. Sink your roots deeply into the earth. Reflect the light of a greater source. Think long term. Go out on a limb. Remember your place among all living beings. Embrace with joy the changing seasons, for each yields its own abundance. The energy and birth of spring, the growth and contentment of summer, the wisdom to let go of leaves in the fall, the rest and quiet renewal of winter. Feel the wind and the sun, and delight in their presence. Look up at the moon that shines down upon you, and the mystery of the stars at night. Seek nourishment from the good things in life, or the good things, simple pleasures, earth, fresh air and light. Be content with your natural beauty. Drink plenty of water. Let your limbs sway and dance in the breezes. Be flexible. Remember your roots and enjoy the view. Advice from a Tree by Ilan Shamir.